Good morning. Before we get started, Pete would like to make an announcement.
Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all you who are mothers. There should be one of these either I handed you or in your pew. If not, I'll correct that.
Can you do Joys and Sorrows? Love you.
A work project next Saturday at Nichols Park in Gary. At 9 a.m. we're cleaning up with the existing community garden. And so we're getting together to clean it up for the spring and get it going this Saturday and next Saturday. It's 9 o'clock. We'll meet at church here. You can go there directly. The address is on the flyer. But we'll meet here at 9 o'clock and caravan over there if you'd like. But, you know, wear your work clothes and we'll do some gardening and some cleaning up. And this will eventually become a big Juneteenth celebration at the park on Monday, the June 20th. So.
Do we need utensils?
I think we'll have enough, but if you have a shovel you want to bring, or that's fine. That's great. So we'll meet here 9 o'clock next Saturday.
Happy Mother's Day, and welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart. My name is Barb Lango, and I participate in the life of the church by serving on the board of directors, among other things. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles, both of which can be found online at uuua.org. Together we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our lives and values in the world. We are pleased to announce that Reverend Tom Bozeman has been called to be our full-time minister starting August 1st. Our search committee worked hard over the last 3 years to find someone who will bring great strengths of kindness, compassion, and understanding to our congregation. He is a listener and a deep thinker and wonderful sense of humor. We look forward to him becoming a vital part of our church community. But until Pastor Tom joins us, we invite members or guests to share a special message with us. Today, I'm pleased to announce we will hear from congregants and mothers, Stephanie Dowell, Tina Porter, and Karen Livengood. This service will be recorded and will be available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Let your Facebook and Twitter friends know that you are attending worship with hashtag First Unitarian Church of Hobart. Please silence your devices, take a deep breath and another, and join us in the spirit of reverence. Please join me in the lighting of the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We, this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Opening words is titled Mother and Daughter. It's a special bond that spans the years, through laughter, worry, smiles, and tears. A sense of trust that can't be broken. A depth of love, sometimes unspoken. A lifelong friendship built on sharing. Hugs and kisses, warmth and caring. Mother and daughter, their hearts as one, a link that can never be undone. Now please stand for the opening hymn, number 409, Sleep, My Child. Please remain standing for the affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of the church. The quest for truth is the sacrament. Service is its prayer. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now is the time when we greet our neighbors. Please wave, smile. Let everyone know you're glad to see them. Maggie. This congregation expresses our joys and deepest sorrows in community. We believe that a joy shared is magnified and a sorrow shared is diminished. Please pause listening to what everyone has to say with their hearts. We will not pass the microphone, so please speak loudly. Maggie will.
If we have trouble.
Yamada is one of my favorite children's stories authors. I think a little over a year ago, I shared with you, what do you do with an idea? With my granddaughter starring and my daughter-in-law producing and directing. Well, you got to put up with this one more time. But this time it's, what do you do with a chance? Thank you. Enjoy.
What do you do with a chance? Written by Kobe Yamada. Illustrated by May Bessam. What do you do with a chance? One day I got a chance. It just seemed to show up. It acted like it knew me. As if it wanted something. I didn't know why it was here. What do you do with a chance? I wondered. It fluttered around me. It brushed up against me. It circled me as it wanted me to grab it. I started to reach for it, but I was unsure and pulled back, and so it flew away. I thought about it a lot. I wish I'd taken my chance. I realized I wanted it. I still didn't know if I had the courage. When another chance came around, I wasn't so sure. But I decided to try. I wanted to reach for it, but I missed and fell. I was embarrassed. So foolish. It seemed like everyone was looking at me.
Never become
I decided I never want to feel that way again. After that, whenever a chance came along, I ignored it. The more I ignored it, the less they came around. Until one day, I noticed that I haven't had a chance for quite a while. It's as if it all disappeared. I started to worry. What if I don't get another chance? I know I acted like I didn't care, but the truth was I actually did. I still wanted to take a chance, but I was afraid. I wasn't sure if I would ever be brave enough. Then I thought, maybe I don't have to be brave all the time. Maybe I just need to be brave for a little while. At the right time. I realized it was up to me. I promised myself if I ever got another chance, I wasn't gonna hold back. If I got another chance, I was gonna be ready. Then, one seemingly ordinary day, I saw something far off in the distance. Is it possible, I hope? Could this be my chance? I had to find out. I ran as hard and fast as I could toward it. I don't know how to explain it, but the second I let go of my fears, I was so excited. It wasn't that I was no longer afraid. Now my excitement was bigger than my fear. As I got closer, I could see that this was a really huge chance. But this time I was ready. As it came by, I reached out and grabbed it. Held on with all my might. It felt so good to soar. It's a victory. Now I see that when I hold back, I miss out. There's just so much much I want to see and do and discover. So, what do you do with a chance? You take it. It just might be the start of something incredible. That ends.
Yeah, she's a drama and theater teacher. Thank you. I'm so proud of my granddaughter, Apple. I lost track of where I was after all that. Oh, I'm delighted to bring up our speakers. Stephanie Dowell, Tina Porter, and Karen Livengood in that order.
Where am I? Oh, there you are. I need my assistant. Okay. No, that's not that kind of I'll just put it here. Okay. Hi, I'm Stephanie. So, message to our daughters, or I guess I wrote this message to my daughter, Lilia. I could have written about how much I love you, how proud I am, how I admire you, and that would be wonderful and true. Or I could have written about how you and your generation gives hope to continue and strengthen the fights for equity, for Roe v. Wade protection, for environmental rights, and all of these as local and big picture battles as you are doing and continue to do. I could have written about that and it would be inspiring and true. But what I did write about is to remind you of the moments of your lifespan. So this is a lifespan here. In the grand scheme of your life and all of our lives, there are moments, good and bad, but they are blips on this whole lifespan. Like if you imagine this being the beginning or the omega, the start, and then that's the end. So there's a lot of space between here and there, right? So in your life, in all of our lives, there will be beautiful moments to cherish. Experience that you will want to last. Fun, sweet, important, moments of sense of accomplishment, grand, small, all in between. Like yesterday, which Carl mentioned, I picked up Lilia from the train. Well, this was Friday. I picked up Lilia from the train, and that was the day that she made it through her first dress rehearsal without breaking a bone. So that was a big moment, and we high-fived, we cheered about it a moment in the car, and then she's like, oh, I need to knock on wood, make sure, this continues. And we were in the car, there was no wood. So I pulled up next to a timber telephone pole, and she reached out the window and knocked on it. And she kept knocking. I was like, okay, like there's a car behind me, like that's enough. And she's like, I had to do 4 sets of 4. And I was like, okay. It was like ballet thing, I don't know. But this moment was wonderful, and like I said, it's to be cherished. So this is like maybe here in her life, right? Maybe here. But it's just this small little piece of her whole life. So just like these celebratory ones, there are moments that will happen that we wish would end soonest. Moments of intense stress, whether it's about school or breaking a bone that could sideline her for a few months, that will also be painful, and the things that she'll miss out on during that time. She missed out on auditions for college dance programs this year because of her break and healing. So that's like, feels like a little bit of a bigger moment, but maybe that's a too clothespin moment. But it's still a short amount of time. And from that experience, she's decided, and we're supporting her in taking a gap year next year so she can continue ballet and strengthen herself so she can audition again next year. So she can fill the next larger gap in her lifespan with the kind of program she wants to be in. There will also be moments that she will have, that we all have, where we feel like we say the wrong thing or we do the wrong thing, and you feel like that feeling like in the pit of your stomach, like, oh my God, I can't surface from this. I can't show my face in whatever setting. I just want to stay in bed. I want to stay at home. And this is aside from, regular depression. This is something that we all share, right? But that is just a moment, right? And these will happen like all along here, right? We will all have those moments. But what I want her to most remember is that as she moves through her adult life and the rest of her lifespan, to really hold on to and make those moments of celebration more frequent and bigger, maybe bigger than the moment seems like it deserves, but just, to have fun with those moments. Because there will always be the hard moments that will feel like they overshadow everything else and that block out the sun, block out the going forward. But it's something that we all go through, and something that I just want her to kind of keep in mind, that these are just moments, and we get through them and we move on, and that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Well, I'm just proud I made it up those stairs all on my own after working in the yard yesterday, so go me! All two of them. Hi, I'm Tina Porter. Thank you. I want to start with a reading from an author that I follow online. I came across this a couple weeks ago, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll just read that. There's nothing else to say. But of course, I'll say more. So from Rachel Cargill. I am making a public declaration here and now in front of all you beating hearts that I, Rachel Elizabeth Cargill, am giving myself permission to not always get it right, to not always be okay, to not always be inspired, to not always be full. I give myself permission to honor the ebbs and flows of soft and callous, ease and tension, light-filled and shadowed, my whole self and just enough. I am opening the gate to myself. I am welcoming myself into this garden where the soil has been tilled by my ancestors, this garden where I planted seeds day by day, season by season, with grand expectation. This garden where brave elders watered diligently, knowing what would break through the ground once ready. I am giving myself permission to feel the sun on my skin, to let the rain soak my hair, to be weathered by the storms that are inevitable. But it's my garden. It's where I'm supposed to be. I'm giving myself permission to be here. Last week, I shared a cartoon on our family text string. A koala says to a raven, "You have to choose your battles." And the raven responds, "I choose all of them." This, in a nutshell, is our family dynamic. We have 3 daughters, for those who don't know. We have 3 grown daughters. We may not all choose all the battles all the time, but at any given moment, at least 2 people are doing some battle that they are choosing. Another part of that dynamic is that if someone else chooses to do battle with any one of us, they don't know it, but they're doing battle with all of us. I'm not telling you this because I'm particularly proud of it. Spiritually, this feels like a losing proposition, to always be embattled, to always be trying to win at things that usually are not worth the winning, given the emotional toll the battle has on us. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that gets tossed into this kind of mix, do you want to be right or do you want to be loved? I don't like it that way. I prefer the variation that says, do you want to be right or do you want to be in relationship? It feels like a fairer question, in that you can choose for yourself, is this a battle I want to wage, regardless of whether it damages or destroys relationships with this person? Whereas the waiting to be loved or wanting to be loved question seems like you have to give something up, which feels a little toxic to me. So when I was asked to speak to this theme of message to my daughters, I asked myself 2 questions. 1, what have I not already said to them? Nothing, it feels like. And 2, what do they need to hear right now? Because sometime between when I thought this and when I'm saying this, a draft decision on Roe v. Wade was leaked, and I've had to do some rethinking. What I wanted to say before the draft leaked was get grounded, go to church, filter your battles, find a stillness, and have fun storming the castle and smashing the patriarchy. I wanted to remind them of what I always need to be reminded of. You're not here to do all the things at once, to take on all the tyrants and the miscreants, nor are you here to do nothing. And this is the issue. This is the all or nothing attitude that has taken hold of our political life, our spiritual lives, our sense of purpose and meaning. If I'm not being the best, doing the most, and living my most fabulous life in the mix, I am nothing. The blessings of social media have been cursed to make not just their generation feel that if we aren't tuned into everything, we will miss something we should be doing or being or having. And so my message to my daughters, as well as to myself and any of you who may be measuring yourself on an impossible scale, is to take a beat, take a breath, a minute, a Sabbath, to say, I am enough. I have gifts to share, and there are battles worthy of these gifts. We are urged in every moment to be the salvation of the world's wounds. We women especially are asked to carry the weight of the emotional and spiritual damage done in the name of moral righteousness, whether overtly or subliminally. The original Mother's Day was meant to be an action to mark this damage, a protest against wars that kill our children. So what words do I have for my daughters? Choose your battles, yes, but also choose your salvation. Ground yourself in a knowledge of your worth, and do not belittle the gifts you have that cannot be monetized or realized on a job performance evaluation. Remind yourself every hour or every day that you were not meant to fix the whole world by yourself, but neither were you meant to ignore the things you can change. And finally, please journey with me to leave the all or nothingness behind, because between the two, there is a world of possibilities. These possibilities probably won't get us all we need, but they will move us forward. As Rachel Cargill says, give yourself permission to not always get it right, to not always be okay, to not always be inspired, to not always be full, to honor the ebbs and flows of soft and callous, ease and tension, light-filled and shadowed, your whole self, and just enough. Oh, and remember to have fun storming the castle.
read this right now. Okay. Lovely words from Stephanie and from Tina. It's always hard to be the last one, you know, you feel like that expectation rises. But I'm going to take a little bit different view than the idea of giving advice to my daughter. As I said last night, I was talking to her briefly, and I said, well, Stephanie has a high schooler. Tina has girls that have just finished college and are on their way into their avocation. My daughter says, her life rope would actually go from here to that door back there, okay? So it's a little longer. She already has quite a history. And I guess I want to talk about what she's taught me, not what I've taught her. And I'll start at the beginning. She was born many decades ago, and she was first grandchild on both sides of the family. Everybody was thrilled. And even though she was small, she actually spent a week at the hospital under those fluorescent lights. And sort of interesting, part of it was because her bilirubin scores were high, which has to do with your liver. But she recovered and came home, and even though she was tiny, she took off, and she, for the most part, was actually a very, very healthy child. But the thing is, I was always hovering. I had lost a pregnancy 2 years before Heather was born. And it was almost a full-term pregnancy. It was unexpected. We didn't have all of the testing that you do now. So it was quite a surprise. And, but I want to say that when it happened, even though it was unexpected, in the delivery room, the doctor came over to me and said, well, we noticed there's a lot of physical ailments or anomalies, external ones. He said those are usually apparent because they're internal anomalies also. And we couldn't save the baby. And I said, then that's best. Something about your instinct, your maternal instinct says that was the thing, that was the best thing that could happen, because that child would have been, I can't imagine the life, if the child had survived, it would have been that. So we were so excited when Heather came. And there were a couple of instances that were sort of scary. She had a seizure, a mild seizure when she was 3 months old. We had it all checked out. Everything was okay. He said just something about the development, you know, of the child. I remember when she was 5 months old, she woke up with this horrible cough, and I wasn't familiar with it. I was just, it sounded terrible. I thought she was choking to death or something. Calling the doctor, and he was trying to calm me down. He said, oh, he knew it was probably a case of croup. You just have to take her in, you know, to run the shower, get the humidity up and so forth, and she'd be okay. And I said, but, you know, she sounds horrible. He says, take her to the doctor. Take her to the, you know, go to ER. You know, he knew I was a worried first mother. And we did, and even while I was there, fortunately, there was a nice nurse, because I overheard a resident doctor there say, why is this child here? Like, there's nothing wrong with this child. And the nurse came over and said, don't worry about it, that's fine. You know, you learn that if you have questions, if you're not sure, maybe you overstep, but sometimes it's better than to have regrets later, right? So anyway, Heather was healthy and fine, and she had a brother when she was 3 years old, and then another brother when she was 9. And she was like a mother hen to those brothers. I think that runs in our family, oldest children being mother hens to the younger ones. But she always took John with her everywhere. It was like her real life baby doll. But we did have an accident when we teased her about when John was 3. We were at the lake in Michigan, and she was twirling John around, and he was holding onto a big stick, and it was just like they were having fun twirling her around. But he slipped off the stick, leg went under, and he broke his leg. Of course, she felt bad about it, but it was just, you know, one of those accidents. But we tended to joke a little bit about it. But I wanted to also point out something that comes up a little bit later, was that she loved playing with Barbie dolls, dressing them, and she was always interested in clothes. And in fact, she dressed her brothers in her little tutus sometimes, which they would come running up, "Oh, Mom, you look, you look." I was like, "What has my daughter done?" Anyway, but it was fine, you know, that was fun. That was what she enjoyed doing. And I remember when we made her prom dress, because she wanted it just so, and we had to make it from scratch. And I said, "Don't ask me to make a wedding dress for you someday." Although it turned out she made her own wedding dress eventually. So she was always interested in clothes. She's my fashion consultant. She tells me what I'm supposed to be wearing. You know, very, very much into that. When she went away to college, she was on going in an idea of retail, maybe with the idea that she would get into that dressmaking business or retail of that. But I remember picking her up at college. She was just down at Purdue. And I said something about, you know, you would have made a really good elementary school teacher. Her care for her brothers, her interests, her artistic abilities, and so forth. And she said, "Mom, I just changed my major to elementary education." And I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow. So, you know, I didn't say anything. I hadn't done been the one to give the advice. That she came to that realization herself. And she did. She became a junior high teacher in science, because she came with the endorsement in science, and she was really, really good at it. And it was sad when she walked away from that job later, but there was a reason for it. The other thing that happened in college, and this is a little difficult sometimes to bring up, but it shows my daughter's fortitude and her ideas about principle, was that while she was away at school, our nuclear family broke apart. And she sort of got blindsided by the whole thing while she was at college. And it was really tough. It led to a very damaged relationship that she had with her father, which lasted probably for about a decade. In fact, it was her that said, "No, I don't want him at my graduation from college." It was that strained. It did take a while to repair that relationship, but I think why she has such a good relationship with her father, and he has with her and her children, is because she stood up when she was in college and let it be known what she felt and how she was going to deal with it, you know. It's just like, okay, you're out of my life more or less for a while. Not completely, but there was definitely a strain there. Showed part of her personality. She got married to her boyfriend in college. I think she waited 10 years because she was a little concerned about marriage and what it meant and would it be the right way to go. But she did, and eventually they decided to have a family. And then she ran into trouble. She lost 2 pregnancies. And it was very, very sad. Again, further along. That was when we did some testing, and we found out that she carried a genetic abnormality. I got tested, I had the same one. The baby was a result of that anomaly or that we had. She did have 2 more pregnancies that were successful, 2 little girls. She persisted. It was sort of a scary, you never know whether everything's going to be all right. In fact, later we found the odds were 50-50 of having a viable pregnancy or not. But she has 2 great daughters right now. Meanwhile, and this is where the story gets interesting, I guess, my son, most of you know that my youngest son, John, has had a lot of medical issues and had a liver transplant 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. He was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when he was a junior high. He was told that he would probably have trouble with his colon because that constant inflammation will cause a problem. And in fact, he did have part of his colon removed 3 years ago. But when we found out that he was having trouble with the liver, that was about 11 years ago, he John and his wife had moved to DC, where they both had jobs. But his doctor there was concerned about the enzymes in his liver. He was actually sent to Johns Hopkins, which of course is a well-known medical facility in Baltimore. And they recognized what the problem was. They said, you need to go to Mayo Clinic in Rochester. Of course, they were still in Maryland, and then Mayo Clinic was in Minnesota. I've often complained about the logistics of our family trying to get from one place to another. And the thing was, they started talking about transplant. I thought, oh, can't be that bad. Can't be that bad. But he had what you call PSC, primary sclerosing cholangio, which is exactly what the football player Walter Payton had. Walter Payton did not go to the doctor soon enough. He did not get the kind of treatment that he should have had. Can you hear me okay? All right, sorry. I'll get a little closer. And I know that to be true, that it was too late. By the time he was diagnosed, Walter Payton was, the cancer that he had spread, and it was too late to do a transplant. John was not that sick. I mean, he had the bad enzymes, but he wasn't that sick. So when they decide who can have a liver transplant, they look at how sick you are. There's a list, and he wasn't going to be very high on that list. And yet at the same time, he needed a transplant. The chance of getting a deceased donor was going to be probably a long one, a long shot, and in time. And that was the first time I'd heard about living donor. Your liver, you have 2 lobes, and they can take one of the lobes out, give it to somebody else. And usually the donor is okay. There have been some cases where it wasn't okay, but Mayo Clinic had very good success with this. So when we heard this, and they said actually a sibling is the best match, always the best match. So John had 2 siblings, his brother Chris, who, by the way, I wish he were here. He's back at my farm mowing for me right now. So he's busy and trying to keep up with helping me with the farm. And Chris did not have children. He was married, but he didn't have children. He was tested, and it was the first time I found out that he had a different blood type than my other son. We did not realize that. I said, I told Heather, I said, he's B positive. John's A positive. And Heather says, Mom, I'm A positive. I said, you have 2 little girls. What would something happen to you? What would those little girls be like? She said, Mom, he's my brother. That was it. She was tested in October of 2012. I had 2 children undergo surgery. One was having his liver removed, and the other one was having half of her liver removed to give to her brother. I am happy to say my daughter's doing fine. She has recovered. She took that chance. We talk about that. She made that choice. It was frightening, and it was frightening even for my son. That's why I wish Chris were here, because he was up there too, having both siblings going through surgery. My son, John, is still around. He's 10 years later. He's had problems. He did have part of his colon removed because, as they said, it did develop a tumor so he did have part of that removed, and there's still issues with dealing with that. Because of what he has, the PSC it's an autoimmune disease, so it's really hard to control it. But the one thing there's never been any rejection of that liver that he got from his sister because of their genetic similarity. I can't say enough about my daughter, and she does that kind of a gift. She would be humble about it. She wouldn't go around bragging or boasting about it, but wow, it's a story that our family clings to. As I said, I'm glad that our nuclear family is a little different than it was when the kids were younger, but we are a nuclear family with an extension. Her father and his wife are definitely a part of it, and I'm glad that has worked itself out. I'm really happy about that. I wonder, the reason I brought up about the clothes thing, you often wonder if you get a transplant from somebody else, how does it affect you? Are there other things that maybe happen in that transplant that you don't know about or you might wonder about? So I said, Heather loves clothes, loves dressing her daughters, always was involved with it. So my son, John, had Junie. She'll be 4 at the end of this month. Now, he is now a stay-at-home husband and father, but nevertheless, and a lot of stay-at-home fathers, I think, would be, getting their daughters ready for activities or going out. My son is very, very particular about what Junie wears. He dresses her. He always has the clothes laid out before. He says, if I'm there, and I said, no, Mom, she doesn't wear that color. She's not wearing that color. And also, Junie is, as some of you know, also has a situation completely different from everything else that's been involved, but she will be small, and she's very small for her age. And so my son is very particular about the kind of clothes she wears, like no pinafores with little ruffles on the sides. He said, no, that will make her arms look shorter. No, she can't have that. It's just really fun to see him take care of his daughter, and especially with the clothes. I mean, my daughter-in-law is a great mother also, but it is fun to see my son take care of his daughter. And he's got a son now will be a year old next month, or in 10 days. The 17th, he turns a year old. And he dresses him, but I think dressing his daughter, he's really picky, so it's sort of fun to watch that. Anyway, that's my story, that's my daughter's story, and I'm very proud of her. Thank you.
Now is the time in our service. Now is the time in our service for our offering. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. We make 2 offerings. The basket is for the general operating expenses of the church, and the cup goes to, this month is Big Brothers. Big Shoulders. Big Shoulders. They're helping refugee Ukrainian children go to school. Can I have... for your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts. We are truly grateful. Now please stand for our closing hymn in your blue hymnals, number 1021, Lean on Me. Okay, closing words are the 3 C's of life. I have 3 C's of life for you: choice, chance, and change. Make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change.
We cleared off the table, leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I've told you a story, chucked you in tight, the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets sail, carry you to sleep over the midnight sea. I will sing you a song one sang to me. May it keep you in good company. Oh, you can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel to any country where your heart leads. Know that I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one, special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. There are girls who grow up strong and bold. There are boys quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some go their own way in time. There are some women love women, some men love men, some raise children, some never do. You can dream all the day, never reach in the end of everything possible for you. Oh, you can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel in a country where your heart leads. Know that I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one, special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish his flame, but not the light of truth, or the community, or the fire of commitment. We care in our hearts until we are together again. Before we leave, I'd like to say that I agree that and I'm sure you will agree that most mothers and daughters love flowers and candy. So, and if anybody that is a female or identifies as a female is a daughter. So as the mothers and daughters are leaving today, please take a flower and a candy. And you dads and sons, take some candy too. Thank you.